Hello and welcome to another edition of the Coach's Corner on Leominster TV. I'm Todd Robbins, joined as always by Leominster High School head coach Dave Palazzi as we get set to preview week 2 of action as Leominster gets set to take on Oakmont this Friday night. Happy to have you along with us for another episode of the Coach's Corner. And Coach, happy to have you here as well. Week 1, an exciting win, a 28-20 final score win over Doherty over at Foley Stadium this past Friday night. And well, the game started fairly interesting in the first 5 to 7 minutes, we'll say. Describe your emotions as you went through the ebbs and flows of that first half of the first quarter.
Sure. I mean, it's everything I expected. I think we spoke about it before the game with the cramping and just guys a little jittery, not knowing where they're going to line up, and just the normalcy of a first opening day game. And I felt we did pretty well. We opened up okay, you know, and we lost the ball on a first play, even though they executed it so well, and the punt return and the clip and the kick return. So it was a little chaotic, but I thought we did a lot of nice things, and I knew we just needed to settle down and then refocus.
We were talking a little bit about before we came on the air tonight, and the reference that I made during the broadcast on Friday night reminded me of the movie Major League as we went through that ebb and flow with the double reverse flea flicker pass, and then the fumble, and then the 3-and-out, and then the run back for the punt, and then the flag down. And you know, I said you can tell a lot about a team by the way the season starts. And you know what? You learned a lot about your Blue Devils. They rose through the adversity that they ran into, and they just kept coming.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's really what it's all about. I mean, even deep into the season, football's a game of mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, physical mistakes. You try to minimize the mental errors, but you know, in the first game, there's more mental errors than usual because the kids are not used to seeing, you know, the opposing defense, and they try to do different things to you. But I thought we handled ourselves well, both mentally and physically. The turnovers, obviously, those are going to happen, but how we responded afterwards, I was really impressed with the way we stuck together and really gutted it out.
As you progressed through the game, one of the things that I thought was very important, maybe a turning point when we looked back on it from post-game back through the game, the drive right before halftime where you guys moved the ball down the field, you eventually punch it in for a score, and it was going into the half. Eventually, when you look at the final score at 28-20, it really does make the difference. It was a very important touchdown at a crucial moment in the game where that second quarter had been fairly blasé and nobody had really taken command of the game. But you left with the score before halftime, only needed one other score in the second half to make the difference.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Link on a third, I think it was a 3rd and 9 on that drive, really made a tremendous catch over the middle. Noah just put the ball, you know, had to throw it over the linebacker, so it was a little high, and Allen just went up and got it. And, you know, Allen was a little down after the first play of the game, fumbling, and you know, his teammates circled around him and said, hey, we have a whole football game to play. He came up big there, and that enabled us to extend the drive. And then, of course, Noah, you know, on the bootleg, hit the pylon, and that getting a score before half is enormous, particularly when we had the kickoff to them. So I thought that was a key play of the game.
How much fun is it when you sit back and you look at Noah Gray? We discussed this a little bit on Friday night, and I think about 4 years ago, where he was on opening night, and of course, through week 2, and then he ends up injured, and his first season really comes to an end at that moment in time. But when I imagine back to what he looked like, what his body type looked like, how confident he was or wasn't at that moment in time as a freshman, and now I look at him now, and we're watching him go through the progression and play on Friday night, directing traffic, moving receivers, throwing a little fake here and there to draw a defender in at him so he can throw over top. Just little things. You watch the maturity level. How much fun is that to watch as a coach?
Yeah, it's great. It's all the little things that you can do that you don't have to spend the time thinking about the whole play and the formation, you just know it. So now you can focus on the secondary skills that you need to be a great quarterback. That's reading defenses and, telling our running backs the little things, pick that guy up or swing out into the open area on this particular play. I mean, Noah's great at that. He's great at seeing what they're trying to do to us, and he's ready to go. And we just, as a team, it's really good to have him. Obviously, he's been around for quite a long time.
Running back ran into some interesting situations. Started, of course, Angel Colina in the football game. We were talking a lot about him as we prepared the season, and we're getting into this week 1 of action. And then all of a sudden, unfortunately, he kind of disappears in the first quarter, and it's hard to tell from our location exactly what may have transpired. And then we kind of noticed toward the tail end of the game, we saw him with a sling. What's his status at this point in time? Where did that all transpire? And it was somewhere in the first quarter of action.
Yeah, I mean, he hurt his shoulder on the turf. Whether it's a bruise or separation on it, we really don't know. But he'll just ice it down, see how he feels. If he's able to go this week, great. If not, we have other guys that are ready to go. Obviously, Adam Couch did a nice job, and guys just have to be ready to play ball. I mean, it's high school football, and a lot of these guys that back other players up, they really need to be ready and that when their numbers call, particularly early on in the season, because you don't really, even if you don't have injuries, you still have guys going both ways that are tired, and they need a break. And it's a team effort, and that's really what football is all about. So just because you're not starting does not mean you're not going to be a contributor. You could be on special teams and just giving guys a quick break. I mean, that's how you become a great teammate.
And it certainly seemed like at every moment when you needed somebody to step up into a role, whether it was Adam Couch or Mike Viola on defense, they made a contribution. Connor Marchand coming in at fullback. Everyone made a contribution when they were asked to step into a role.
Yeah, Miles Laura at tight end. I mean, these guys, they're not starters, but they come to practice every day, and we need those guys. I mean, sometimes the way high school football is, you have to, particularly us, we have to do a lot, so we really focus on the ones in practice, and the twos don't get as many reps or practice plays as the ones, so we may go 6 plays with the starters and then 2 or 3 with the backup. So, it's harder to be a backup because you really have to focus and watch the play and know what you're doing and stay in tune to practice, so when your number is called, you know what to do.
No question about it. I thought the most uncanny part of bringing in Adam Couch was as the game progressed, you kind of forgot who was who. Their numbers, of course, between Angel and him, 27 and 28, you could very easily not notice the change. But they're about the same size, about the same quickness, same look of a back. How nice is it to have somebody who you can bring in who plays a very similar style? It's one thing to replace a tailback. It's another to replace them with almost a carbon copy in the same way.
Well, it's really Roger Mercy is our running back coach, who is also going into the Hall of Fame this year as a coach. He works those. he works with those running backs. They do inside run. For those people that don't know, inside run is just the linemen and the running backs and the receivers. We're doing our thing and we're switching off quarterbacks. But they run those plays each and every day. And Coach Mercy coaches the running backs up just like they're going to start the game. And they really all do. They get a lot of reps in that part of practice. And Adam, he's a quick learner. He's a smart kid and he's a tough kid. And he really did what he was asked to do.
28-20 final score. Leominster a winner in week 1 action, improving their record to 1-0. Great opportunity here to take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Blue Devils as we start to head toward week 2 of action. And of course, we progress our way through the season, starting this Friday night, the 16th of September, on the road out at Ashburnham, Westminster, also known as Oakmont Regional High School. 7 o'clock kickoff there, and our countdown to kickoff will be on the air at 6:30. We'll talk more about that later on. The next couple of games, week 3, they find themselves on the road. Does Leominster again at Boston College High School. That's a Friday night. The 23rd of September, a 7 o'clock kickoff there as well. You may want to get out of work a couple of hours early and start that commute into Boston a little bit early as well, as that traffic getting out into the BC High area can be a little bit exciting. And then, of course, week 4 of action, the 30th of September on the long calendar this year. The Doyle opener on the 30th of September, the week 4 game against Wachusett. So those are the upcoming games for the Blue Devils over the next few weeks. And Coach, We've got a lot of interesting games going on around the region as well this coming week. 4 games that we're going to be keeping our eye on that, of course, involve action here in this area, and that would be Fitchburg and Wachusett, Shrewsbury and Neshoba, St. John's and Shepherd Hill, and then Algonquin and Marlborough. 4 great matchups out there, a lot of them that have implications in this new 6-team Division II. Which one do you find to be most interesting on that board?
I think they're all very interesting. Obviously, Algonquin had that big win against Neshoba, so I'm really looking at Wachusett, Algonquin, St. John's, and Shrewsbury, and Shepherd Hill. I mean, those are the 5 teams we have to play in our league. So, obviously one team has to win against St. John's and Shepherd Hill. So, it's really going to get pretty exciting, I think, with 6 teams. I mean, every game's important, each and every game you play, and this week, you have some big matchups there, so it'll be good to see the results, but I'll be focusing on Oakmont.
And no doubt about that. The next one up is the next one up. How much has the contraction from having 11 teams that had 4 qualify to going to a 6-team division where 4 qualify? Do you like that idea better, at least on the face of it, or would you rather still be in a much larger division and see a variety of opponents?
No, I think with the playoff system, when you're only doing 8 games, and we've been down this road many times,
yep.
You have 6 teams. We play 5 of them because Fitchburg's no longer in our league. They're in 2A. We play every team in our league and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, granted, I think Shrewsbury and some of the other teams play each other on Thanksgiving, so they don't play each other. But I really haven't looked. I only thought I saw one. But, you have 4 teams out of 6, and we're all playing each other. So by the end of 8 weeks, you're going to have pretty much the top 4 teams. I think it will be ironed out. I think it's going to be a lot of parity. I don't think there's going to be any domination with one team or another, to be honest.
I think it's going to be a very tightly contested division, and we'll see what the exact area, how things shake out as we work our way to week 2 action. It's Oakmont and Leominster getting set for kickoff on Friday night. Coach, been a long time since Oakmont and Leominster have matched up on the gridiron. This one has a lot of fascinating pieces to it. We talked a little bit about how it ended up on the schedule in the first place last week, but let's talk about the matchup right off the bat. The return of Coach Charlie Rath taking on Leominster. This was your favorite practice field battle. I remember the stories you would tell me off air and on air of the 2 of you matching wits when you were on the same coaching staff, because you just love offense and he just loves defense. And you love to kind of bend each other's ear a little bit, and you would throw scenarios at one another and figure out how to break them down and attack them as offenses and defenses. Now going in, this one's for real. You guys actually have to break each other down and actually scheme against one another. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's going to be exciting. I mean, I obviously have spoken to him. We're very good friends. And, I said, Charlie, before the game, it's going to be great. We'll talk to each other. But as soon as the game starts, you're going to find yourself just coaching against another team. I mean, maybe you may think that, I know Coach Palazzi might run this, and that will be through your scouting and what you know, and I'll do the same thing. But really, when you get into the game, you're really worried about what you're doing and trying to respond to the other players. I don't think he's going to be thinking about me too much during the game. He's going to call his game. I'm going to call my game, and, we'll see what happens. But it is pretty exciting. I mean, we're excited to go up there and play. I mean, he's a very good team. They had a great win last week. So, we just got to be ready to play ball on Friday.
One of the things I took note of as you look at the scores, and again, for whatever you can make of week 1 action of some upcoming Blue Devil opponents, lots of points got scored in week 1. You guys scored 28. Oakmont posted 35. BC High posted 61. Other teams down the road posted other large double-digit sums. Is that a product of the fact that maybe in week 1 defenses are a little bit behind the curve versus offenses, or is that indication of perhaps down the road here defenses are going to be tested as there's a lot of really potent offenses that are going to continue throughout the year?
Well, I'll give you the perfect scenario. UMass played BC this weekend, and I think a lot of people thought UMass was going to win that game. I'm a UMass grad, and I thought, hands down, they had a great shot. But BC has 1 week of film on them from the Florida game. So what I'm trying to say is, in the first game of the season, it's hard to figure out what teams are going to do, what their tendencies will be. Now that you have at least 1 week of film, you kind of figure out what teams are going to run, what their base play, what their go-to plays are. And again, it's still early, you could change that, but you get a better idea of what they're running. So the point I'm trying to make, in the first week, either you get it or you don't, and you can find a lot of teams scoring a lot of points because people are just out of position. They haven't seen it in a long time, and they end up missing assignments, and people are wide open. So I think that's why you saw a lot of the scoring.
We're going to help our viewers a little bit here as we talk about Oakmont, because it's been a little bit of a time as you guys are looking through your film and starting to kind of pick apart what you're seeing there. As best you can compare them to teams that you've played recently, on the offensive side of the football, who would you compare them to?
I think St. John's a little bit. They really like to throw the ball. They have a lot of the dual read stuff, and they'll run a little no huddle, and they'll try to up tempo you. And they're a little bit like us. They'll run counter traps inside out of shotgun, and they'll do different things, and they'll run zone. So I think they're a culmination of us and St. John's and some of the spread teams that you see out there. But they do. They got a great offensive coordinator, Pat Rossi, who was head coach, I believe, at Quabbin a while ago, and their offense was pretty potent. I mean, they scored a lot of points when he coached, and he's there, and he's an ex-quarterback, so he knows the position, he knows how to coach, and I saw him this summer, and he does a nice job, so we have to be ready.
Those ex-quarterbacks seem to always find their way into coaching somewhere along the way. You just never know where you're going to find them. Defensively, of course, we kind of know what Coach Raff's philosophy was when he was here. As you've been looking at the video and how their defense lays out, is it similar to a style that maybe we saw implemented when he was coaching for Leominster, or has he brought some different wrinkles to it with the personnel that he has?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be wrinkles. I mean, their base is a 3-4, cover 2, and they'll do different things, and they'll bring people, they'll blitz, and he'll have different things to kind of try to stop us with different formations and things, and we'll try to do things to them. And but he's the way he coaches. I mean, those kids are fired up. They play with heart. They fly to the ball. They play physical. I mean, those are really things that guys like him are able to do with kids, and that's where I got to do a good job of getting my guys ready to match that intensity, because they'll be ready to play. And I think that's one of Charlie's greatest assets as a coach, is the ability to get everybody to play to their full potential. So, and knowing that, I know they're going to be ready to go on Friday, and we just got to match that.
Talked a little bit about the strength of your defense in week 1 of action and the things that they did well. But obviously, hey, no week 1 is a perfect performance, plenty of places to grow. What specifically would you like to see from your defense going into week 2 action? Where would you like to see some growth?
I just think our linebackers better reads, get there a little quicker. Some of our linemen need to, stay low and fight through blocks and don't get pushed downfield. And, obviously on the back end with some of our corner and safety play, just, get it to proper depth and all the little things, where you line up and different things, and go through your reads and just things. I'm sure I'm saying everything that every coach, from the first week is really, working on alignment issues and technique. I mean, when you're young and you're big, you try to be strong and you forget your technique, and that's probably the worst thing you can do. I mean, we did that a few times, but I think as these kids play, they need to kind of clean that up a little bit.
Question about that. When you look at the special teams, I thought it has been something that every year you're always looking for something you can get out of special teams. And we talked about it in the preview last week that, Mike Foster was going to bring a little wrinkle to this, and that he had worked really hard at the position to grow into becoming a kicker. Very strong first week performance, of course. Kickoffs were great. Had nice, extra points. Hey, maybe made you scratch your head a little bit and go, hey, there's some power in that leg. Maybe something you might be able to use in the right scenario down the road. I think the one thing we haven't talked a lot about, because we talk about him in other roles and other facets, is Anthony Dandini's contributions as a punter. I really was impressed last week. It just seemed like his overall power as a punter had increased substantially. I know you never want to punt, so I know where this is going. You never want to punt, Todd. Never, ever do I want to punt. I can just see it in your face. Yeah. But changing field position, I thought he did a really great job at helping you guys change field position when you needed to, when your offense did stall out.
I mean, there's nothing I hate more than talking about punting, but you're right. I mean, it's a huge thing to have when your punter really pins guys in, and he's punting the ball deep and high and downfield, and it's turning over. I mean, that's enormous. Field position is the key to the game, and that's one of our special teams. And he really did a nice job. I wish he would have had less opportunities, obviously, but you know, I mean, sometimes you play good defenses like we're going to do this week, and we're going to need a good punt from Anthony, and you know, field position, and for those guys to get down there and make plays, I mean, is enormous.
No question about that. And of course, as we were mentioning, Mike, and maybe the possibilities, I know he feels he has the ability to do it. I know you don't want to ever take 3, but the possibility certainly has got to exist this year that you've got to be thinking of, that you could potentially, if you get into a spot, potentially go with that.
Yeah, and he's a kicker. I mean, he made all 4 attempts. I mean, that's I can't remember the last time that happens. I mean, my Keno tickets with 2-point plays probably got to pull out of my pocket from a few years ago, but we didn't really have to go to that bag of tricks. And you know, he can definitely make some field goals. I really want him to work on the varying kicks on the kickoff, the pooch kick where you kick it high and about, you know, down to the 30, and squib kicks where they're line drives on the ground. I think he needs to work a little more on those, but he's really worked on the things we asked him to work. He's gone to camp over the summer, and he's really taken this thing seriously, and he had a fantastic night the other night, and we have a lot of confidence in him, so I'm pretty excited for him.
I knew you had a lot of confidence with him when you took a timeout right before kickoff in the later stages of the game. You were trying to get something positioned up there. You wanted a kickoff to go to a certain place, and then the kickoff landed somewhere over on the baseball field, and I've got to imagine we all looked at each other, and on the broadcast we said, I don't think that was the plan in the timeout.
Right. Well, like I said, we wanted to get the pooch kicks down, and you know, with high school kickers, I mean, you know, you really have to explain and practice. I mean, my big thing is, I'm not going to yell and scream at kids if we don't, you know, practice it, or we don't tell them what to do. And I don't think we spent a lot of time, or we really didn't, explaining to him where we want the ball in a pooch kick, and really let him during the week practice it. So, you know, obviously I wanted the pooch kick down to the 30, away from number 21, and it, you know, hey, went out of bounds and you didn't get it, so we had to regroup. I just burned a timeout, but you know, those are the little things that sometimes can be the big difference.
Well, and it's I don't think at any point in time when we talk about special teams, I don't think you expect them to be that dominant, but Vassar, anytime he touched the ball last week, had an opportunity to make something electric happen. So when you turn that attention and you look going forward, you've got to be able to play that positional game and be able to kick away from somebody or move it away, or not allow him to get a full head of steam, or for whatever reason, if the blocking's not lining up that night, you want to be able to avoid that point.
Yeah, I mean, I told him to kick the ball away from 21, and he kicked it to the right, but the tail end of the ball spun, and it spun right over to 21, and you know, we just, those are the little things that you can't do. I mean, to let one player like 21 kill us, I mean, we can't let that happen. So, you know, it's all about practice, and everybody's important. Our kicker's important, our holder, our snappers. I mean, those are things he needs to work on, and I think he knows that, and you know, he'll get it done.
As you sift your way through the plan, obviously, you're only a day or two into this at this point, getting prepared for what you're looking at on Friday night, working with it, you know, an opposition that you've got some familiarity with. What's that exciting thing? What's the exciting piece that you want to see on Friday night that you think could bring it all together?
Well, I think it's just after the first week, you see some guys, they get jittery, they run the wrong pass route, they're not, the confidence isn't there, they need to gain that confidence. I think it's just, I think why we all coach is we watched the film today, we told the kids what they need to improve on, and just getting out this week and working on it and improving from the week before. So, you know, next week when we watch the film, we can say, hey, remember last week we told you to get your head on the other side when you block, or your feet, your alignment. And this is what happens when you do it right. And you see kids succeed, kids that struggled maybe the week before, they dropped the ball and things, and just see them, you know, see success. They see their hard work, and they come out and they make plays, and just see that their hard work pays off. So as a coach, that's what I get excited, to try to improve on the things that we didn't improve on, and see Mike Foster do a pooch kick, and now it lands where it's supposed to land, and he's all excited. I mean, those are the little things that I love about high school football. I mean, we don't have you know, hours upon hours to work at any particular offense, defense. You kind of have to do it all together. So, you know, sometimes we rush things a little bit, so that, you know, hopefully we can get things done this week and see an improvement.
And that's what we like to see, growth, improvement, and guys having fun. At the end of the day, it is a game. We do forget that, I think, from time to time. Coming up Friday night, it's Leominster and Oakmont. Kickoff out at Hurd Memorial Field, 7 o'clock. Countdown to kickoff on the air on the K-Zone. at 6:30 on AM 1280 and 105.3 FM. And of course, as we mentioned, coming up in week 3 action, Leominster on the road at BC High. We'll have that preview for you next week here on the Coach's Corner here on Leominster TV. Until that time, for Leominster High School head coach Dave Palazzi, I am Todd Robbins. Tune in on Friday night. Again, the K-Zone, AM 1280, 105.3 FM, 6:30, the countdown to kick off with Billy, Kate, and myself. Leominster TV will be along for replays throughout the week and weekend as well. And you can catch replays of the Leominster and Doherty game throughout this week as well, and on demand at Leominster.tv. For Leominster High School head coach Dave Palazzi, I am Todd Robbins, saying thank you so very much for joining us. And week 3 action comes up on the Coach's Corner next week, right here, Monday nights, 6:30 on Leominster TV. Until then, so long, everybody.